Hi everyone, and welcome to Moonstone Makes. My name is Tommy. Today I'm going to be talking about my knitting all-time favorites. So I've got together a little list of all my favorite things that have to do with knitting, and I'm going to talk to you all about them today. So before we get started, if you don't mind, please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel and comment below as you watch if you have any opinions on the things that I talk about today. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to talk about are needles. So my favorite type of needle is a circular needle, as opposed to straight needles, DPNs, and there's a couple other different little in-betweeny kind of needles, but circulars are definitely my favorite. My favorite types for circular needles is an interchangeable set. So it's been a really long time since I've purchased fixed circular needles. When I first started out knitting, that's what I was buying because obviously it's much less of an investment. A whole interchangeable needle set can be quite pricey, but fixed circulars, you can only buy one at a time, so it's much less of an investment if you're just starting out. But I just love interchangeable needles so much more than fixed. You end up, if you do really get into the whole knitting lifestyle, you do end up with a lot of different needles. If you knit a lot of different types of patterns, a lot of different types of projects, you're eventually going to need a lot of different sizes of needle and a lot of different cable sizes. So if you don't have an interchangeable set, you can end up with like an enormous collection of fixed circular needles. And I started to go that path a long time ago and I didn't like it, so I invested in my first interchangeable set and it was a game changer. I love interchangeable needles. They're the best. They're definitely the way to keep minimal if you're going for something like that. And my favorite interchangeable needles are one metal and one wood. And if you've watched my podcast in the past, you probably know what it is. My favorite metal interchangeable needles are the Hiya Hiya Sharps. And I just love Hiya Hiyas. They're metal needles. They come like this. This is what the tip looks like. They're very wonderful, very sharp and nice. And back here in the little zipper pocket are all the cables. I actually I have some Chiaogus in here too. I keep my Twist Mini interchangeables in here because they're such a teeny set. But anyway, that doesn't go there. This is what the cables look like. And I just have like one or two cables of each size. And this is my whole little metal needle collection, which would be way bigger if I had fixed circulars in every size in every cable needle that I've ever needed. So I just love how compact interchangeables are, and I love the Hiya Hiya Sharps. They're my favorite. My favorite wood needles, which I love equally as much as the Hiya Hiya Sharps, are Lykkes. Now because I'm indulgent and fancy, have two different Lykke sets, both in this case. I've got the long tips and the short tips, and my favorites are the short tips. So here they are, and same idea, like, you know, it's just such a minimal setup when you just have your tips and all your different size cables and you can interchange them. It's magical. I love the Lykke woods. They're really nice. The short tip set, which is my favorite, is a size 3 to a size 10.5 is its range, and that's in US sizes. The Hiya Hiyas range from a 2 to a 7. So every interchangeable set's going to have its own range of sizes, so that's definitely something to look at. The long interchangeable Lykke tips go up even higher. They go up to a super fat US 17, which is nice to have on hand. I don't know if I've ever used it, but if I ever need it, it's there. My favorite crochet hook is a Tulip. And this is one of the ones that I have. I like the Tulip, the pink handles, and they're just really nice and soft. They're this like silicone feeling material. I don't know what it's actually made out of, but it feels wonderful, and I love how it feels on my hand. That's what the hook looks like there. It's not too blunt, which I like. It's also not too like sharp, which I like. I just love these hooks so much, and I do, with crochet, I'm not an avid crocheter. I like to crochet, but it's only like sometimes. So I didn't want to invest in a whole set of hooks, just like when I was a beginning knitter. So I started buying these things one at a time, and at this point I really wish I would have just bought the set to begin with, because I want all the different sizes, because I know I'm eventually going to go through a lot of different sizes. And it's so much cheaper to buy the set than it is to buy these things individually. I think they're like $7 or $8 individually, and it's much cheaper if you buy a set. I've already invested in maybe 4 or 5 of these, so at this point it'd be a total waste to buy the set. I'm just gonna have to eat it and buy every individual one as I need it. But yeah, these are by far my favorite crochet hooks. I love them so much. They're made in Japan, and they're beautiful. They're just beautiful. I love them. My favorite sweater construction is top-down set-in sleeves. Definitely. Top-down I love because it's easy to try on, it's easy to gauge length, it's easy to gauge if you're going to run out of yarn or not, and to make adjustments in terms of length and sleeve length if you are going to run out of yarn. It's just like, I much prefer it to a bottom-up construction, and there is sideways construction sweaters. I don't think I've ever made one, but it sounds cool. But it also sounds like the kind of thing where you can't play with the length, obviously, because your cast-on's probably going to be your length, so. But definitely top-down. And then set-in sleeves. This is a set-in sleeve cardigan. I just find that set-in sleeves sit on my body the best. They sit on my shoulders really nicely. I feel like it never feels awkward when I have set-in sleeves. Yeah, I just absolutely love set-in sleeves for cardigans. I don't know how many set-in sleeve pullovers I've made, but I know they're out there. But I love a set-in sleeve. And it's really fun to do too, because what you end up doing usually is you'll have your armhole, and then you pick up all your stitches after the fact, and you do short rows. So you start at the bottom, you knit like most of the way across, and then you do a short row back this way, and you end up knitting it like this, down and down and down until you get to this point, and then you just knit straight down for the sleeve. I love the construction of a set-in sleeve, at least that style of set-in sleeve. I just love it. I just love it. Set-in sleeves. That brings me to my favorite cardigan pattern, which again, if you've watched the podcast for a while, you probably know this is my very favorite sweater. That's probably my very favorite thing I've ever knit for myself, and it is the Even Flow cardigan by Hiya Hiya. It is hands down my favorite cardigan pattern ever. It's great. It's a top-down set-in sleeve cardigan, and it's open-fronted. It's got this really wide roll kind of collar, and it's very long, and it's got pockets, which honestly are pretty non-functional for me, and it's got crochet hooks in my way. It's got this slip stitch / cable pattern all across the whole back, which was kind of a pain in the ass to knit. This cardigan actually took me a very long time to finish because I got so sick of that knitting pattern, but it's beautiful and I love it, and it fits amazing. I love this pattern. Absolutely recommend it if you're looking for a cardigan, like kind of a long line style cardigan like this. It's my favorite Hiya Hiya pattern I've ever knit, and I've knit quite a lot of her patterns. My favorite pullover pattern. I don't have one. I kind of want to know your opinion on this. I definitely knit more cardigans than I do pullovers. I love wearing knit cardigans. It's my favorite. I have wanted to love wearing knitted pullovers for the longest time, and I just straight up, it's not that I don't love it, it's that I haven't found the right pattern for me yet. So I went through a really, really long period where my favorite thing to make and wear were really, really fitted things, and I'm kind of over that in this phase in my life. So a lot of the pullovers that I have tried knitting for myself are very fitted, and I just don't wear them. I just don't ever wear any of them. I tried once for like more of a positive ease kind of oversized pullover, and that was the Weekender by Andrea Mowry, and I honestly don't love wearing it. I feel like it's too, I don't know how this is going to make sense, but it's too like, it's too two-dimensional. It's very flat. Even when I wear it, it's like kind of envelope-y, and I don't love that. I feel like it doesn't look good on me. So I do want something that's a little more, that has positive ease, that's like more of like a comfy kind of, I don't know how to describe it. I'm looking for a pullover that isn't negative ease and that isn't the Weekender. I would love to know what your favorite pullover patterns are for knitting or crochet, because I do also really love crochet sweaters, even though I've only ever made one. So yeah, this is, I don't have a favorite pullover, and I would like to know your favorite pullover or any of your other favorites in the categories that I'm talking about today. So let me know below. Please let me know. My favorite heel construction for a sock is by far heel flap and gusset. Like, no contest, hands down, heel flap and gusset. I love it for myself. I always have. I've veered off and tried different heel patterns for myself, and I always come back to the heel flap and gusset because it just fits me so good. I love it. Now, my favorite heel pattern, well, my favorite sock pattern for a baby is a regular vanilla sock with a 2x2 rib, a shorter cuff, and a fish lips kiss heel. So I love a fish lips kiss heel in terms of knitting it. I love knitting fish lips kiss heels. I just love it. Or really any short row heel. It doesn't have to be the fish lips kiss heel. And they fit great on babies, I find. Don't know what it is, but like babies don't need that like super structured heel, but I feel like it's also nice to have a little bit of extra room in the heel and instead of just a tube sock. So I really like the fish lips kiss heel, especially because it can be a little too big and a little too small, and it still fits. So yeah, that's my favorite for babies. I also really, really like the Rose City Rollers Littles pattern for babies, which is just a vanilla sock. I use the fish lips kiss heel with it, and the only difference is that it's got a rolled cuff. So you just cast on and knit stockinette rather than casting on and knitting any ribbing. That's a free pattern, so check that out. Baby socks, short row heel. My favorite kind of sock yarn is a 2-ply, high twist, fingering weight, wool nylon sock yarn. So if you know the kind of like hand-dyed, indie-dyed scene of sock yarn, there's basically a couple different types. There is the 4-ply construction, which is very thin and very smooth. That's fine, I like it okay, but I like the other kind better. And the other kind is that 2-ply. It's a little teeny bit thicker, mostly just because it's like plumper and bouncier. And it's got a really high twist, and it's just plump and squishy, and I love it. I brought an example. This is some of my yarn, Moonstone Dyeworks, and this is some of the yarn that is waiting to go out to Patreon people. I have pre-dyed their yarn because I'm currently on maternity leave, which actually isn't going to last too much longer. I plan to get back to the dye pots sometime this month, just to kind of dip my toe into it and see how it goes. But anyway, this is a colorway called Mossy Dip, and this is the sock yarn that I like. If you can see, it's very textured. You can like see all those little bumps. It's a 2-ply yarn, and those 2 plies are just like plied around each other in a really like plump and luscious kind of way. And this is my merino sock. So this one is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, but this style, this yarn construction is also really easily available in a BFL nylon, and it's typically an 80-20 blend. And it's my favorite. I just love it. I absolutely love it. I love this sock yarn. Whoever gets this, I hope you make some socks out of this, and I hope to see them someday. So if you ever get this yarn in the mail, take a picture when you're done knitting it. I want to see. Okay, my favorite kind of yarn in general is a non-superwash wool, pretty much. Weight, I love all weights of yarn, but I just really, really love non-superwash wool. Yeah, I just do. And I mostly love it for like sweaters and hats and stuff. I love a good superwash yarn as well, especially for socks and shawls and sweaters too. But I mean, it's just two different things, and I absolutely love that kind of yarn. That is just all non-superwash, just 100% wool, nothing else. Oh, I love it. My favorite breed of wool, that's really, really hard, but I think I want to say it's Cormo. And I brought some of that out as an example. This is Elsa wool. I have a sweater quantity of this that is waiting to be knit up, but this is Cormo. It's 100% non-superwash Cormo, and it's just so beautiful. All Cormo is different. I've tried quite a lot of different Cormo yarns from different farms, different dyers, different companies, different brands. They're all a little bit different. Like this one's really, I mean, it depends on how it's spun too. This is a woolen spun yarn. I've tried a worsted spun Cormo too. I definitely prefer woolen spun Cormo. It's just so soft and luscious and cloud-like. It's beautiful and I love it. I love Cormo. I freaking love Cormo. My favorite type of wool to spin, I think, is Rambouillet. I've spun a lot of Rambouillet fiber and I really love it. I believe Rambouillet is like related to merino, and I think it's very crimpy, and I don't know what the staple length is like. I'm not that technical when it comes to different breeds of wool or spinning or anything like that, but I know it's nice and crimpy, which means it's nice and lofty and bouncy and just soft. It's so good. I love spinning Rambouillet. Absolutely love it. And it's nice because Rambouillet is really easily available in like indie dyed fiber kind of things. And so it can be just so beautiful in terms of color and in terms of how it feels and in terms of how it spins, and I love it. I also love spinning Polworth, but I'm not getting into my second and third favorites because that would just take me forever. So Rambouillet. My favorite kind of spinning prep for wool, I think right now it's bats. So like big puffy bats that are mostly non-superwash wool, really natural fibers, even like just undyed natural wool that have other things blended into it, like other dyed wools, other breeds, sparkle things, silk things, other kind of add-ins that are blended into just like a base of really natural, like really farmy wool. That's like my favorite right now. I love it. At least I love the idea of it. I really I really haven't used it that much because it's kind of hard to find wool suppliers that do that and do it really, really well. But I have definitely spun with a couple bats like that, and they're to die for. They're like seriously to die for. My favorite shawl pattern is definitely the Marled Magic by Stephen West. And here is mine. I knit this a few years ago, and it was just the funnest shawl like I've ever knitted, and I love it. It's really enormous, so honestly it's like not that wearable. I don't wear it that often, but it was just so fun to knit. So it's got different sections, and each section is like a different texture. So there's brioche over here, and then seed stitch, garter, mesh lace, and I don't know what else, some like other stuff. There's a lot of garter. And one of the things that I really love about this pattern and a lot of other Stephen West patterns is that it calls for a bunch of different yarns, so it's really ideal for using scraps, mini skeins, mixing and matching yarns, which I love to do. I absolutely love using a whole bunch of different yarns in a single project. It's like my favorite. It's like so my favorite. So this is my favorite shawl pattern. And it also has tassels. And who doesn't love a good tassel? I love a good tassel. My favorite cast on is the German twisted cast on. I use it for like everything. Like everything. My favorite bind off is, I want to say it's the I-cord bind off. It's not the best for everything in my opinion, but it's really fun to do and it's really pretty. My favorite shoes to wear with hand knit socks are high tops, for sure. So I have a couple different pairs of shoes that I wear with hand knit socks that you can see the hand knit socks with. And the first one is this. These are some Ugg boots, and they're just a high top, flat soled boot. They zip up the side, and they're just really, really great for wearing with hand knit socks. Most of my hand knit socks come up to about here, and so they peek out the top that much, and they just look really, really good with boots of this style. I found these on like Zappos like years ago, so I don't know if these are still available, but I've had them for a long time and they've held up really well. Totally worth it, and they look so good with hand knit socks. I mean, I think like even like a Doc Marten, or there's lots of different types of boots that are kind of this style that just looks so good with hand knit socks. So definitely these. And then for more of a tennis shoe, I have these Vans. These are Vans skate highs. These are kind of the classic high top Van shoe. And hand knit socks also look really, really good peeking out of these. Hand knit socks with high tops are just kind of the best to me. Also, hand knit socks look really good with roller skates. Just saying. They're high top, especially like the knee socks. Get yourself some roller skates. See how it looks with hand knit socks. I think you're gonna like it. I mean, I think you're gonna like it. My favorite wool wash, I have two. Can't decide, I have two. I like Eucalan a lot. I don't think it really like works any better than like any of the other kind of commercially available wool washes that I've tried. I just like the scent of it the best. It's subtle and it's like kind of earthy and like plant-like. I really like it. So Eucalan is one, and then that comes in a liquid. And I don't think you have to rinse it, but I can't remember. It's been a little while since I've used it. I also really like in bar form, my favorite is Tuft Woolens. Tuft Woolens is just great. She's a really great maker, and I love her. I love her stuff. She's available, or her stuff is available on Etsy, and Tuft Woolens is just, it comes in all kinds of different scents that she hand makes, and it's really, really beautiful bar wool wash. The thing with that is you do have to rinse it out after you soak your thing in it, but it's lovely, and it's not that hard to do, but it's lovely. I love Tuft Woolens. I use that the most, mostly because it takes a lot longer to go through than a bottle of Eucalan. So a bar of Tuft Woolens can last a really long time. My favorite snips for knitting are these sweet babies. These just make my heart so happy. That was lame. I don't usually say stuff like that. These make me so happy. Did you hear that? Oh, I love it. So this is Merkin and Mills. It's their, I don't know which one it is. It's their teeny snips. They have other sizes of scissors that are just like this, and I want them all, but I love them. They're like infinitely better than all of the other snips that I have ever tried. And I don't know why. I think it's the metal or like the coating or something, but whatever makes it black, it just makes them so lovely and beautiful to use, and I love these. They're very sharp, and they've stayed sharp, and I love them. I love them. That was weird. Don't do that. My favorite stitch. So I think, well, my favorite stitch is the knit stitch. And I think it's a tie between stockinette and garter because I'm boring. But also I really love slip stitches. I love how slip stitches look. You can use a slip stitch to look a lot of different ways. That did not make sense. A lot of different types of stitch patterns call for slip stitches. They make for really cool color work, and I love them. They're very fun to do. My favorite app. So pretty much I'm talking row counter apps here. My favorite app is Knit Companion. It's been around for a good long while. It took me a long time to figure out how to use it because I remember when it first came out, I got it and I did not understand it and I gave up on it, and I tried it again years later and it's become my absolute favorite thing ever. I like exclusively knit from it now, and it's on my phone, and so I exclusively knit from my phone now. I never print out patterns anymore, which I love because I kind of hate printing out patterns. And it's really great because there's a lot of different features. My favorite features are the row counter feature, which I totally rely on my phone as a row counter, and I do always count my rows in my rounds. I never just wing it with my rows and my rounds, I always count. And it has a row counter function that's really great. And I also really like that there's like a highlighter bar, so you can move the highlighter bar to wherever you are in your pattern, whether it's just like a section in your written pattern or a row on your chart. And it's really, really great for reading charts. You can make charts really nice and clear using it. You can enlarge things, and I've always been able to see my charts really nice and clearly and follow along with them using that highlighter bar in the app. I love it. I super duper love it. Another favorite of mine in general with knitting is stretching your hands and your wrists. It's become really important to me to keep up my physical health, including the health of my wrists, my hands, my fingers. It's so important. It's so important. If you've ever had injuries to this part of your body, or like just aches and pains in your hands and your wrists, it can make it really suck to knit. And that in itself sucks. So I just really like keeping up with stretches and keeping my hands and my wrists really nice and loosey-goosey. And you know, you got to do what's healthy and what feels good to you, but I've found one or two videos on the YouTubes that have really good like hand and wrist stretching routines, and I really like to do those. They're pretty much just like yoga videos that are focused on this part of your body, and I just find them to be good to do every once in a while. And yeah, stretching your hands and your wrists. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is my favorite sock blocker, and it is these. They are very popular. I forget what they're called, but it'll be on the screen. But they're great. They're just wire sock blockers. You get 2 of them. I think mine are the small size. I don't remember where I got them, but will probably try to find them somewhere on the internet to link them in case you're interested. And they're just really great. I think they just look really nice. And me, like a lot of other people, I don't use them to block my socks. I do block my socks. I know there's like a whole divide of people who block their socks and people who don't. I do. I don't like block. Like I said, I don't block them on these. I just wash them and let them dry, and that way, to me, they're finished because they're clean and they're, you know, all fluffy and nice. But I do use these for pictures and for showing off on YouTube, which I just hit myself in the face with them, which to me is all they're good for. Not hitting yourself in the face, but showing them off in photograph and video. And that's okay. I think it's nice to have something like this just for aesthetics and to make your socks look nice in pictures. But these are my favorite kind, and pretty much just because of that, because I think they look really good. I really like the minimal design, and I think they're pretty. So that is everything that I have thought about to talk to you about today in terms of my knitting favorites. I hope you enjoyed. If you think I missed a category, or you want to tell me about any of your favorite knitting things, or like techniques or tools, or what's the word I'm thinking of? Supplies. It's a weird word to use. I'd love to hear about them. Comment below with your favorites, and if you have any other suggestions for videos like this that you'd like to see me do, leave a comment below as well. I really like the idea of doing other formats of video in addition to my regular podcasts. So, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up so that I know you enjoyed it. That would be very helpful. And I will see you. I always do this. As I'm saying goodbye, I'm like looking around me to see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. I don't know. I stall when I say goodbye. I can't just say goodbye. Okay. I hope you're having a really great day. I hope you're using one of your favorite knitting or crochet or crafting things right now. Have fun and stay awesome, everybody. Bye.